Very good morning to you. You're watching Sky News Breakfast. Our top stories. Israel's military says it will investigate how its soldiers mistakenly killed 3 hostages being held by Hamas in Gaza. A post-mortem finds Friends actor Matthew Perry died by accident due to the effects of the sedative ketamine. And Donald Trump's ex-lawyer has been ordered to pay hundreds of millions of dollars in damages to 2 former election workers. Well, let's take a look at the stories making the front pages for you this Saturday. Great day for truth. The Guardian leads with Prince Harry's victory in the High Court over his phone hacking claims. That's against the Mirror Group newspapers. Well, the Times has been looking at GP waiting times and reports that millions more people are now waiting over a month to see their doctor. The Eye has seen data suggesting that more than 1 in 5 fixed-rate mortgage deals are due to come to an end next year. The Telegraph reports that London Mayor Sadiq Khan has blocked a plan to send cars to Ukraine that would otherwise be scrapped for failing to comply with ULEZ standards. And half-price Christmas. That's the front page of the Daily Mail, which says major stores are already holding big sales to try to shift unsold stock before Christmas. And of course, if you want to see any of those front pages again or read the stories, scan the QR code, it's on the screen, and it will take you to the press review on the Sky News website. So do take a look at that. But we are joined in the studio, I'm pleased to say, to review the papers with journalist and author Janelle Aldridge and the Conservative commentator and columnist, that's Samantha Smith. Very good morning to you both. Thank you. Looking delightful in varying rays of red. I love it. Shall we start then with The Guardian, Janelle? Because we've all been covering this story, Prince Harry, but he is saying the verdict that he got yesterday was a great day for truth, and his journey to seek the truth is ongoing, essentially.
Yeah, and you know what, I do think it's a great day for truth. As a journalist, you know, I became one because you want to see justice, you want to tell stories, you want to speak truth to power. And if we ourselves, the Fourth Estate as journalists, are actually maybe not speaking that truth or finding stories in ways that, as the judge called it, unlawful ways of gathering information, then actually we do need to have a look at ourselves and have a reflection. So is it a great day for truth? I do think that it is. You know, of course, Piers Morgan did his statement outside of his home after this, saying that, you know, he wouldn't believe Prince Harry. But evidently, I don't think this is about believing Prince Harry. I think the judge has uncovered things. And even during the Leveson inquiry, when they were uncovering phone hacking then, it seems the practice was still going on right into that inquiry happening. So I do think it's a great day for truth. And I do think that this is a moment for the media industry, all of us, to look at our practices, see how we gather stories. And I think a lot of this has died since that time, and you know, I do think there actually is better processes in place of people collecting stories, so I don't think this is that recent. However, it is a moment for everyone to take stock and for us to examine what we think our role is as the Fourth Estate, and it is holding truth to power, and so that means we also have to be honest and to a certain extent have clean hands too.
Yeah, that's so true. And it's interesting because, Samantha, this was at a time when particularly the red tops were read by millions of people, and Piers Morgan, the editor from 1994 to 2004, you know, on the doorstep, as Janelle pointed out, vehemently denying that he told anyone to take part in phone hacking.
I think it's interesting. All it really harkens back to for me is the days of the news of the world, and obviously when that came crashing down, the cries from those at the top that they knew nothing about it, that they were blindsided by their own subordinates, and that this was rogue agents that were going off, you know, and that those in their ivory towers knew nothing about it. Realistically, for example, Piers Morgan, probably the worst thing he could have done would to have gone out and given this very emotive, very highly
Of Harry.
Exactly. It came across as a man who was not so much defending his journalistic practices, but attacking his accuser more so. And I mean, it is true that the credibility of this story and the effect that it has on the public is slightly tarnished, I think, by the fact that the defendants, that it was Harry and Meghan that were really at the forefront of this case. I think that the public is feeling a great deal of Harry and Meghan fatigue. So, and the sort of reputational damage that they've taken themselves with their various scandals and stories of the past few years since their exit from frontline royal duties has affected this story to a certain extent. But at the crux of it is shady journalistic practices, and there's no denying that the early 2000s were a time of rampant, I would say rampant misgoings on in journalism, and I think that it is a very important day for journalism in the fact that those in positions of power, I mean, again, bring it back to the Millie Dowler case and the phone hacking that occurred there, even if Prince Harry may not be the figurehead that people want for a case
Sure.
like this, you can look on other cases and see that if it was happening with Prince Harry, it was happening across the board. And this is something that really does need to be highlighted, whether or not people like the fact that Prince Harry was the one spearheading this particular case.
And Prince Harry will have various other cases with the News UK
Yes.
and other papers, so this will continue to make headlines. A rather sobering headline in the Daily Express, and this is all about the tragic end in the hunt for the missing mum, Gaynor Lord. This has really struck a chord with many people, and sadly there was a body that was found by police.
Yes, it is a story, as you said, that captured the hearts of the nation, really. A mother of three who seemingly disappeared without a trace and for absolutely no reason. And the end to this case, although I don't believe as of us speaking about this that it's been confirmed that it is her, although the police did state that the family have been informed. I think that really it just reminds you around the festive period to hold your loved ones a little bit tighter and to really reflect on our own family dynamics and how fleeting mortality in life is. I would also say it's important for the public not to jump to conclusions. We live in an age of social media and hyper awareness and the true crime society that we live in. People want to have an instant gratification, an instant conclusion in cases like this, but it's important for the family and for due process that the police are allowed to do their jobs in this case and allowed to figure out what happened without interference.
Yeah, and potentially, there are children without a mum this Christmas, which is desperately, desperately sad. Now, we'll move on with the Daily Telegraph, because this is quite a curious story, isn't it, about the London Mayor, Sadiq Khan, that apparently is blocking potentially up to 700,000 cars that don't meet those ULEZ standards from being sent to Ukraine and a scheme that potentially could help the war effort.
I mean, it is a curious story, because even when I was reading it, I was like, okay, I need a bit more information, because I'm not quite sure what the Daily Telegraph are actually getting at the nub of the story. So I understand what they're saying. They're saying he's blocking the Cars for Ukraine scheme. So these are cars where motorists could get £2,000 back to scrap the cars because they don't meet ULEZ, and as ULEZ controversial in many ways, many Londoners not happy about the scheme, find it expensive, £12.50 a day if your car doesn't meet these targets. So these cars, for all intents and purposes, are going to be scrapped. And Vitaly Klitschko, the mayor of Kiev, wrote to Sadiq Khan and said, well, can we have your cars? They're mainly 4x4s and big vehicles that would help the war effort. Sadiq Khan said no, because the scheme requires it to benefit Londoners from an economic, social and environmental
and they can't
point
change
of view.
the legislation
And
of their scheme, potentially.
So for me, okay, I see all of this. However, there is an actual thing called a Car for Ukraine, where a person who's driving this car could donate their car to Ukraine without going through this ULEZ scrapping scheme. So this story to me is a bit curious, because I think it's a bit of nothing, that in the bottom of it all, actually, if a person does want to have a choice over their car going to Ukraine, they can personally take that choice
That's an interesting
and send their
point,
car
actually.
to Ukraine. So so for me, this story is a bit of they're saying people should choose where their cars go. People can choose, they just might not get £2,000 for it. And so that, for me, is kind of makes this a bit of a non-story, I'm afraid.
Yeah, thoughts, Samantha?
I suppose I definitely understand Janelle's point, but I think that the gripe that many Londoners, I assume, will be having, rightly so, is that many of those who are facing the prospect of having their car scrapped and the potential of benefiting with the £2,000 from the scheme will be people who can't, for example, afford a new hybrid or electric car. There'll be people who are working class or from a lower income background who are who would very much benefit from this and would also like for their car to go to a good cause rather than a scrap metal yard. And so of all of the vanity projects and PR stunts that Sadiq Khan has, like every previous London mayor before him, endorsed during his tenure, it seems quite curious that he is so inflexible on this issue, and it seems to be rather more politically motivated and sort of trying to claw back a little bit of control over the ULEZ scheme, because it seems as though it has ballooned so far out of his control over the recent months. But I can understand why people would want to both benefit from the money that Sadiq Khan would be giving anyway, and then have their car go to a good cause.
Yeah, indeed. Well, talking of money, the Daily Mail, their front page is Half Price Christmas, and it's talking about how, and we see this every year really, don't we, in the stores where sales feel like they're starting earlier and earlier, but the Mail really focusing on the fact that lots of retailers have stock on the shelves that no one's buying, so they're slashing prices.
Yes. So this quarter, known as the Golden Quarter, of course, is the most important for high street retailers and for retailers across the country in general, for the sales to grow in the run up to Christmas. Where, for example, they may take a lower income throughout the rest of the year. They really rely on the Black Friday and festive period to generate a great deal of revenue that can then see them through to the end of the fiscal year. What has been reported by the British Retail Consortium is that the average growth rates have stalled at below 3% this year when compared to last year.
People are holding on to their money.
Exactly. And in a cost of living crisis, when people are still really feeling the effects of the pandemic and haven't quite recovered, our economy is still spiraling as a result of the vast overspending that occurred during the pandemic. The first thing to go will be these excess, frivolous, quote-unquote, luxury spends. So people aren't going to be going to House of Fraser or Debenhams or to M&Co or wherever it is, their high street retailers, to splash out cash on Christmas presents. They'll be looking to more budget-friendly options, and as a result, naturally, the British Retail Consortium has said that they are facing a crisis in which many high street retailers may disappear from our streets in the coming year.
I think when you see that, big stores like John Lewis are having trouble, those lower local stores will be in a hell of a lot of trouble when it comes to shopping. But I have to say, during these sales, Janelle, I never really find anything that I want.
No, there's not many good things left in the bargains. And I think in context, the outlay is £40 less than last year per head. So although that's a big thing overall, it's actually not a lot in context per person for the way that the finances have gone. But yeah, in the sales, you often find it is the scraps. They're selling you a dream of a bargain that you're not really getting because you're still spending. But I think most of us have been tightening the belt for the past 3 years. So I think this is on trend of the way things are going. And hopefully next Christmas will be one where people feel they can have a little bit more in their pocket.
Yeah, indeed. For now, Janelle, Samantha, thanks so much for your company. We'll see you again very shortly in the next hour. Thank you.